Dove had this big campaign where they're trying to pass actually and get behind legislation in New York City and around the country to ban weight discrimination, to ban discrimination based on size alone. So because I'm a doctor and an endocrinologist and was talking about these things, they reached out to me and we rolled with it.
So, have you ever wondered how a healthcare provider can build a private practice, grow a personal brand, and even land sponsorship deals with companies like Dove, all while staying true with patient centered care? Well, today we welcome Dr. Dodell, who is a successful private practice owner in Manhattan. He works as an endocrinologist, but also is creating content to get people engaged and build his business at the same time. So, welcome, Dr. Dodell.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you.
I am too, and I want to dive right into this. So, you were mentioning that you have been able to set up some brand partnerships, one with a really big name, Dove. Can you tell me the story of how that came to be?
Yeah, so I was out there producing content like a lot of us. And because I was producing content that related to body positivity and like weight stigma and weight discrimination, people would kind of reach out to me. And Dove had this big campaign where they're trying to pass actually and get behind legislation in New York City and around the country to ban weight discrimination, to ban discrimination based on size alone. So because I'm a doctor and an endocrinologist and was talking about these things, they reached out to me and we rolled with it. And it was great. It was a great experience.
Did you have a big following at that time or?
Not as big as now, and not like now it's so big either, but I guess the content just made sense for them.
Okay. And then so did they actually reach out to you or did you reach out to them first?
They reached out to me.
Wow. Okay. And so were you a little skeptical at first where you're like, no, I don't think that these guys are real or what?
Well, because of like other people that they partnered with, so it was like a big group. I think they had like people reach out to me, other content creators, other people in kind of the advocacy space. So I knew it was kind of a real thing. So like the channels that it came through made sense. So yeah, I was like, got the email and I was like, yeah, is this real? Is this like dumb? They have like major campaigns and like, partnering and major people. I'm like, yeah, like if it's real, let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. And so was it something where they would pay you to create the content, or is it more just to get the exposure and brand, like kind of linked with that name?
Yeah, so you get paid to produce the content, just paid for your time like you would do anything else. All these brand partnerships, because, I'm a physician, there are like customary regulations as far as like what they're allowed to pay doctors, which in my purview is kind of not great because I'm capped at when I can get paid versus if they go to like, a celebrity or someone who's not a professional, they can kind of pay them, but it's not regulated. So it's kind of capped like based on like what customary things are considered for my hourly rate.
That's crazy. Why? Do you know why it's capped?
Yeah, I think there has to be like something. I don't know if Dove per se, but like if I do something with a pharmaceutical company or something like that, there's like regulations on like probably for kickback purposes and like regulations as far as like what they're allowed to pay doctors to say. So they have to kind of look at like what's like market value kind of thing.
Okay, I got it. And so throughout this process, because this isn't the only company that you've done a brand deal with, is there any negotiating that's going on, or is it that you say your rate, they accept it, or what does that look like?
There is some negotiation back and forth. Honestly, like early on, and I'm still fairly early on in this, I kind of like throw out a number or vice versa. And I try and obviously like in any negotiation, try and get them to pay me as much as possible. And then sometimes they'll come back and say, oh, well, fair market value for a physician, we're only allowed to pay you this amount per hour kind of thing. And, that's where it falls. And then they can work in things like, well, we can pay you this much for like the content, but we're allowed to pay you more for like appearances, or there's like other things that you could do to like kind of increase that compensation.
When you went into med school, did you ever think you were going to partner with a brand like this?
Like I just did a post recently this weekend because I was like, when I interviewed in med school, I said, yes, I want to be a doctor, but I also want to like teach and do some research and like be out there in the world. And social media didn't really exist, at that point. This was like 2003, 2004. I was like starting med school. So this is like checked a lot of boxes for me. It's been like fun to like be out there and create content, like interact with colleagues, interact with patients. So it's fun. I didn't think I'd be working with brands and things like that. I mean, at that point, it was like, maybe you see a doctor on a TV show or interviewed on the news or whatever, but it wasn't this kind of partnerships.
But why? Like, why do you decide to create content?
Yeah, so it was interesting. My wife is a psychologist and she started doing this years before I did. And she was reaching a lot of people and marketing her business and having fun with it and doing podcasts and all this stuff. So I was like, let me give this a try. And it just kind of happened. And I want to reach more people than the people I see in my office and help train, future doctors and interact with current colleagues and learn from people and also reach patients and people from all over the world. I mean, what a great opportunity.
It's such a powerful thing that we have access to nowadays. I almost question when someone who's a working professional like that isn't on it, because it's a tool that can be utilized to so many use cases. Have you found that it's helped you? Have you found that it's helped you either professionally or even personally?
Yeah, I think certainly professionally, just by not even creating the content per se, but like going on there and following other people because I'm looking for ideas and I'm on there creating my stuff. So therefore, I'm interacting with other people and learning through their experiences. And also, I learn from patients and people, because when I put out a post and someone makes a comment or message me and says, I had this experience or, whatever the comment could be, I'm learning and hopefully that's reaching and helping me become a better doctor because I'm hearing from people with lived experiences.
But has anyone ever actually like seen your page and then became a patient of yours?
Yeah. Or
Really?
people reach out to me all the time and say, oh, I live in Texas, I live in California. Can you see me? And I'm like, no, unfortunately, I'm not licensed in those states, so I can't do it. But yeah, no, people in New York will like come in I have like the review of systems, like intake form when they come in. And it'll say like, how did you hear about the practice? And they'll say Instagram or social media or whatever.
That's amazing.
That's how people find things these days, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a way to get business for sure. But I think what the cool thing is that for you, yes, it does drive your business or it helps your business grow, but you're also just helping people at the same time, right?
Yeah. I
And
mean,
so how do you decide?
I can go on there and like I see a patient, during the day who had an experience that we know thousands and plus people have probably had. And I can like go on there and talk about this patient's experience and like the conversation we had and people either relate or they can learn something from it. Like I saw a patient last week who said, I don't get it. I was in Italy. This person has diabetes. I was in Italy. I was eating gelatos. I was eating all this great pasta. My blood sugar was like the best it's been. And I said, yeah, but you're walking around. You're not stressed. The food source is like a lot cleaner, I have to say. And I hear this all the time. So I went on and did a quick, 30-second thing. And all these people are like, same thing happened to me or, good to know. Now I realize how the impact of stress and movement and all this stuff. So like people got something from it.
So many teaching moments for sure. And I mean, as a doctor, it's almost like you're fed constant teaching moments on a regular basis because these patients are coming through and you probably see trends of things that are happening on a recurring basis. But when it comes to sharing stories like that, do you have any concern from a HIPAA compliance standpoint?
Well, I'm not using names. I'm often not saying like male, female, age, anything that would be identifiable.
Okay. So that's the kind of the way to do it, is to more generalize it just so that you're not using any personal health information where someone could identify that person, right?
Yeah, I guess I should even take it a step further and like not even say when I saw the patient, not say like, oh, I saw a patient today who whatever. But yeah, like just removing any kind of like identifiable time frame, anything like that. Could have been someone I saw last month.
Has there ever been a time where patients come to you and they've heard you share their story of some sort, or has that never been a problem for you?
That hasn't happened, thankfully. I hope it doesn't. Or if it does, hopefully they're like, oh, thanks for, sharing it anonymously. And yes, hopefully that was helpful for people.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what like doctors can be scared of that, but most patients are happy for their story to, as long as you're not like saying their name. And so that someone could be like, that's exactly them, or saying their age or things like that, that they know that when they're in a situation and their health is failing, it can be isolating and it never feels good to feel alone. And
Right.
then you hear these stories of someone that's gone through it as well. And then it gives you a kind of a sense of comfort, right?
Right. Yeah, totally. And I mean, to me, that's hopefully the positive thing about social media is, right, is like connecting with people that are going through similar things or lived experiences that you can learn and collaborate with. And a lot of times at the end of my posts, I'll say, I'd love to hear comments because hopefully they're going to help other people also and engage the community.
Yeah, absolutely. You ever find it being challenging because the persona of a physician is supposed to be someone that's highly educated, has everything together, they should have everything done perfectly. And then sometimes they want to be presented that way on social media. Has that ever been a challenge for you?
No, I kind of have fun with it because it gives me a chance to like not be that, it allows me to like throw out like information that's hopefully helpful for people. And like I do silly things like dance on there and like have other collaborations and like also disclose like personal stuff, talk about my own experiences, whether it's like using meditation to help with like stress management or like my go-to exercises and like all this stuff that I don't necessarily talk about with patients that are in front of me, but social media gives me a chance to like give my persona a little bit.
I was checking out some of your videos before this, and I love it so much. Like one, you're on your balcony, another, you're just walking in the street in New York City. And really what it does is it humanizes you because oftentimes you get into and you see you as a doctor and you're like, oh gosh, here we go. But then you realize that you're a human as well, right?
Yeah.
And I imagine that it actually helps your patients trust you at a deeper level.
Yeah. I think it's important also. We're living in a time where people have so much access to information and like hopefully can have access to like all different kinds of doctors and professionals. And like historically, that patriarchal, like, older doctor, like, you take your Lipitor and don't ask any questions or whatever it is. And like, this is just a different time. So hopefully by having this kind of persona and lots of us out there doing this, it kind of opens people up to having useful discussions that could be bi-directional and not just like a one-way street because people are going to get the information that they want and they're going to go somewhere else if, you're kind of like, it's my way or the highway, right? So
Absolutely. So now what I want to do is I want to shift from you as a creator, as a content creator, to more of the business owner and entrepreneur because you have a successful business that you've been running in New York for what I think like 8 years, you said. And what was the story of you actually starting this practice? Did you do that right out of fellowship or were you working first? Tell me.
yeah, so I had a great mentor in fellowship for people listening. Fellowship is like where I did the endocrinology specialty. So I did 3 years of internal medicine residency and then 2 years of an endocrine fellowship. And one of the attendings, who's, the mentor, supervising doctor in the clinic, he's like 75 at the time, 74. And he was like, I'm going to be retiring at some point. I'd love to have you come join the practice. And the person that was working with him at the time was going to be leaving. So we kind of came to an agreement, like, come work for me. After a couple of years, we'll be partners. I'm going to retire at 80 and you run with it. And so I had 5 great years with him, just kind of learning medicine and reinforcing all the stuff that hopefully I knew already. And just kind of like getting the flow of the workspace and seeing what could work.
Wow. So did you set up with a seller financing model?
Yeah, so I came in like salary and then basically had like a percentage and then over time, the percentage changed, we became partners and yeah.
So you didn't have to take out any loans.
No, I had like a small buy-in at the end, but it wasn't too bad.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So if you're another doctor or healthcare provider that doesn't know like seller financing, it's when you can go to these businesses where someone already owns it. And of course, they could go through the whole venture capital, things like that. But there's so many businesses that just want to be able to sell it and pass it on to someone without all that headache.
Yeah,
And then there's someone like you in your career where you're like, oh, this is my chance to get in without having to take a massive loan.
right.
So it's really, really smart of you. And so you kind of came into from being the clinical side to then the business owner. Did you find that there was ways that you needed to fine tune the systems as you continue to develop your business?
Yeah, I mean, it's still evolving. Medicines is tough, for sure. Just the overhead and it's even statistics have come out that doctors have taken a 30% pay cut on Medicare in the last 20 years, meaning that Medicare, yeah, they may give you a couple percent every couple years, but that's not keeping up with inflation. So we're trying to find ways to continue the revenue stream. I have another doctor who I hired almost 2 years ago at this point. So that's helping, some of the volume and the overhead. I have a great physician assistant who works here as well. We're doing like things like neuropathy testing, and we're doing remote patient monitoring, which is for people listening, which is glucose monitoring 24/7, which is like a billable code that we can use to monitor people with diabetes. So there's lots of things that we're doing to help people clinically, but also drive revenue.
Yeah. So that's so important is to diversify your revenue stream. So one is through just the patient's fee for service model, right?
Right.
And then so you said the other ones have been through the remote therapeutic monitoring, and then also hiring out and starting to scale yourself as well.
Correct.
Um, do you find that there's any challenges because you're still treating as well? Do you ever find yourself more working in the business rather than on the business?
Yeah, no, it's definitely challenging. I have an amazing, amazing team, a great office manager who's been here 30 plus years with the previous doctor and has continued with me. And she does amazing work to kind of make sure all that's happening. Right. Because if I'm seeing 20 plus patients a day, and 5, 6 o'clock hits and I have phone calls and things like that, it's hard to work on the business because, as you said, I'm kind of in it. And also, like, it's hard when you're in it to really be objective. Like, I can kind of see what's going on, but like you kind of need someone who's not in the mix to see what's happening.
Have you had any challenges delegating that kind of stuff, or have you found the right people?
It's been the same team for even before I was here, which is
Wow.
amazing. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
The doctor I came in and joined was just like the nicest, best doctor around and treated people well. And a lot of the patients stayed, the staff stayed. And I like to think that we're just a family. We're doing what we can to like take care of the patients and take care of each other. And, we look out for each other. And I think that helps.
That's amazing. Now, what about for the future of healthcare? Because, we all know the challenges that's happening. You have seen the decline in reimbursement, having to look for diversifying revenue models. But what does it look like 5 to 10 years from now?
I think, we're going to have to continue to take advantage of technology and automation. I think that we're already using and integrating AI a lot into our practice to help with some of the tasks like refilling medications. We're going to be soon using AI for prior authorizations. We're going to be using AI to basically help consolidate patient records, gather data. So I think that's going to be a huge thing because, as overhead goes up, with people and staff and things like that, it makes it a lot harder to keep the doors open. So we're looking to kind of integrate AI the best way that we can. We're going to be looking at other kind of models too for like primary care, like membership type models. So just kind of keep it evolving the best way we can because it's really hard to just straight up see a patient and keep doors open because of the overhead and just the time consuming factor of taking care of a complex patient with endocrine issues, diabetes and thyroid and osteoporosis and all the things we're doing. That needs time, and there's phone calls and all these other things that are just not reimbursed.
I think that this is really cool that you're highlighting the use of AI, even just beyond the clinical side. So a lot of those things you were talking about is back end administrative work,
Yeah.
and that's going to help improve your profit margin, I would imagine, right?
Yeah. I mean, because I love the staff and we have a great team here, I'm not looking to do this anytime soon. I'm looking to kind of integrate it with the staff. But I imagine if I was opening a practice tomorrow, I could run a whole office with just AI and maybe one staff person.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about for sure.
I mean, I have
Um,
doing my med refills. I have it doing a lot of things that were taking a lot of time for all of us.
when you say med refill, so what role does AI play in that?
So the pharmacies send in like automated prescription refills, and all of us were kind of going through and saying, accept, accept, accept. You know, yes, the patient's been here within a couple months, the labs and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just send the refill. Or they haven't been here for a year, send 30 days and let's get them an appointment. All that takes a lot of time. So now AI is able to, we set parameters. They've been here within 6 months. The medication that they're requesting matches what we have on their chart, and, basically go through and send the refill. If they haven't been here for 6 months, the medications don't match, it won't send it and it'll be in our box and then we can handle it.
It makes so much sense. Like you're doing that already, and now we have technology that can do it for you. It'd be silly not to utilize something like that.
Correct. And we're also using it like if I see a patient, it acts like a scribe, so it'll listen to the visit and actually will do my note for me.
These are exciting times. There's no doubt about it for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I want to finish off with you and kind of what the recommendations, not that you make to your patients, but that you make to your family. So, navigating the healthcare system can be challenging with all the different providers. Say, for example, there's a woman who's going through menopause and has osteoporosis. How do you recommend that they handle it, and what steps should they take in order to make sure they're getting the care as efficient as possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to see specialists for sure, and people that are board certified and have experience in treating whatever condition they're treating. I think it's important to have a good primary care doctor, which unfortunately there's a huge shortage of that going on, which is, I think, why you're seeing a lot of the concierge models pop up, because people need time with their patients. They need to know their patients. I think those two things, and get referrals to specialists kind of as needed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then what about for the doctor who's going through medical school or maybe in residency or fellowship that's like, yeah, I want to start my own business one day. Where do you recommend that they should start?
I think find a good mentor, someone who knows how to run a business and a private practice, if that's what they're looking to do, because we just don't learn that in school. And I'm still learning it, every day. It's not easy to be seeing patients and running a business. I think a lot of clinicians, a lot of doctors who are running successful businesses end up not seeing patients on their own, or seeing minimal patients, because it is like a full-time job. So I think the more you scale the business, the harder it is for you to actually be the doctor. So I think that's something you have to kind of consider. And that's something I have to ask myself too, is like, would I ever want to like scale this so much that I just sit in front of a computer all day, crunching numbers and dealing with admin? Or do I want to kind of like contain it a little bit and like keep seeing patients and, do some more admin than I'm doing now? So I think figure out what you want to do and what kind of business you want to have.
What's the answer for you? Do you want to continue to scale your business, or are you happy with where you're at?
I mean, I think everyone would want to scale their business, but I also love seeing patients. So it's a tough call. I'd like to do both, but
I hear you, but that's why I ask,
yeah,
because there's
I mean,
plenty of people that wonder.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd like to scale the business, but not give up the clinical component. So I guess I could see less patients and still do that, but also make the business a little bigger.
For sure. I hear you. So, if another doctor wants to maybe see how you're creating content or maybe just reach out to you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, they can message me, on Instagram is a good way, or my email is dodelmd@gmail.com. They could email me. Easy enough.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I know that seeing what you're doing on your page and professionally and personally, like it's really cool to see because you have found a way to kind of overcome the idea of perfectionism and just be like a human first. And I think that's a big reason of why you're so successful. You do it online, but then you even mentioned to me, you're saying you want to do practice old school medicine. And I think that that is so incredible. So I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me.
Yeah, no, thank you for the compliment. I mean, I'm learning as I go, like the rest of us, and I think that, to me, old school medicine makes sense in like knowing the patients, but it's also, this is new school medicine, right? Because it's like the bi-directional conversations, which is like in the old school medicine, it was like, this is the doctor, you have to like listen to what they say. And in the same vein as like everyone having access to AI and Google and all this information, like someone comes to me and like they may know more about something than I do, if it's like an obscure thing or they have something that they've really researched, I'm all ears.
I think the humility there is just saying like, just to say like you're human first, right? And knowing that you have to work with it and you got to always be willing to learn and grow. So
Totally.
amazing. I appreciate it. Amazing. So if you are someone that is listening to this podcast, if you're a healthcare provider of any sort that's looking to build your brand or your business, make sure to reach out to us at medstorymedia.com/podcast. And we'd be happy to share your story as well. But until next time, thank you so much, Dr. Dada.